My name is Portia Bordelon. I'm a Groton Town Councilor here in the town of Groton. I want to welcome everyone here today, including all of our town staff, all of our elected officials. I saw some that kind of came through that I didn't see, but if I didn't see you, I just won't name everybody. I'll say elected officials, as well as the Groton Parks and Rec Department, as well as the town staff that helped me collaborate to put this together, along with the mayor, the town manager, and everybody in the community at large. And obviously a big thanks to all the speakers, and because it wouldn't be a program without you guys being here. This is our second annual Black History Month. Black History Month is not just about Africa. It's about skin color and how you identify. It's really important that we understand that communities of color identify on this day. When I was putting this together and thinking about what Groton meant to me as being a minority here in the town of Groton, I thought of our military. Groton is founded on the backs of our active duty military, who make up a large portion of this town and bring in a large percent of our diversity. It's really important to acknowledge them for all their work that they do. And that is why I also thought, who in mind to me is somebody that I idolize and look up to that fits the tapestry of Groton being a military community. The person I chose was Carl Boucher. Born into a sharecrop family in 1931, Carl Boucher rose from extreme poverty and social disadvantage to become the first African-American master diver and the first amputee diver in the U.S. Navy. Boucher's path to success was difficult and unlikely given the many challenges that obstructed his way. With much sacrifice, determination, and persistence, he overcame those obstacles to fulfill his dream of becoming the first African-American master diver. Today, almost 20 years after his death, Carl Boucher is a well-known name following the popular success of the movie Men of Honor. Based on his life, for many, he has come as to represent the powerful perseverance and resilience. In June 1950, Boucher reported to his first sea tour. Although he invested significant time in improving his skills as a bosun mate, he wanted to become a diver. Unfortunately, his request to attend dive school was denied. Souring his experience, Boucher continued his dive school petitions, undeterred by the rejections. Carl was repeatedly denied, not because of his qualifications, but due to the color of his skin. In 1954, more than 3 years after Carl Boucher's first request, the Navy granted him permission to attend a salvage diving school in New Jersey to train as a salvage diver. As the only African-American trainee, Boucher's experience in the 16-week course was rife with racism and harassment. After mistaking him for a steward or a cook, training officer told Boucher he didn't think that the white students would accept him or that Boucher would make it through the school. Boucher worked hard, performed well at both diving, academic portions of his school. He finished in his class, he finished 16th in his class out of 32 students, 15 whom failed or dropped out. He then went on to have his legacy career. I would like to dedicate this year's Town of Groton commemoration of Black History Month to Carl Boucher. In honor of his journey for a young African-American teenager in a segregated America, to a highly successful master diver and a master chief in the United States Navy, to a legacy he created in his life that continues beyond his death, I have invited the Navy sailors from the Groton Naval Sub School today to join us. Their presence here and their careers in the Navy are a great testimony to the progress of our country and our armed forces and the services that they have made over generations. This is a matter of personal pride and joy for me. as my oldest son is in the Navy and has joined a year ago this very month. And he is now attached to a submarine at home port, Groton, which is currently conducting an overhaul in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Please join me in welcoming these 7 sailors. Like Carl Brashear, they made the choice to serve their country in one of the most elite, empowered branches of the armed services, the United States Navy. It is my honor and privilege to introduce each and every one of them. And if you guys could just step forward when I call your name. Fire Control Technician, First Class, Franklin from Florida. Information Technician, First Class, Myers from South Carolina. Information Technician, Technologist, Submarines, First Class, Nabi from Indiana. Information Technician, Submarine First Class, Osborne from Florida. Information Technician, Second Class, Morgan from Mississippi. Information Technician, Second Class, Lennon from New York. And Information Technician Chief Officer McAllister from Texas. What we have before you today is truly Carl Brashear's dream, to have a diverse and inclusive Navy. Thank you, sailors, for your service and commitment to our country and our community here in Groton. Again, 1954 was not that far, considering my parents were born some in the 40s and some in the 50s. That's only one generation ago that folks were denied the opportunity to serve in what part of the branch of the military they wanted to be in. Thank you. Moving on with the program, I'd like to bring up Pastor Joseph Coleman from St. John's Christian Church. He'll be giving the invocation. If you guys don't know, Pastor Coleman has been serving for 40 years at St. John's Christian Church, which is out in front of Brantford Manor in Groton, and has a lot of a community outreach and support for the community that he serves. Thank you, Pastor Coleman.
Thank you for this opportunity. Let us bow, please. Dear Heavenly Father, our dear God, we come at the beginning of this Black History Month, dear God. I ask you to bless the mayor, the city council, and all those who put this program together. I ask you to bless the speakers, dear God. And I thank you for the opportunity that Black history is not just for us, it's for the community and everybody. And I ask you to, again, just bless this day. In Jesus' name, amen. Yep.
Pastor Coleman, if you come this way, and a little something for you, just a thank you. We also would like to give you a token thanking you from the town of Groton for your continued service to our community. I'd like to also bring up our mayor, Juan Melendez, for a few words.
Thank you. All right, welcome to Groton. I will be brief because there are many more interesting speakers here today. But I would just like to start off by thanking Councilor Bordelon for putting this event together. She has made it a point to keep this celebration alive, and I think it's a very important celebration to have, and just to see the turnout today, I think speaks to the importance and how everybody in the community feels how important this is. I'd like to thank the Navy for attending. They're an integral part of our community, and it's always good to see them come. We love to support them and honor them in any way we can. And this is just a beautiful time to do so as well. Finally, I'd like to thank Groton Parks and Rec, because without them, honestly, we couldn't put these events together. All the work that they do behind the scenes getting everything straight. So I'd like to thank them, as well as Groton Municipal Television, for broadcasting this and preserving it for future generations to see. But with that, I'll just speak briefly. Black History Month is the annual celebration of the rich history, culture, and contributions of African Americans to our society. It's an opportunity to recognize and honor the individuals who have fought for equality and justice, and to acknowledge the challenges that still exist today. This month serves as a reminder that Black history is an integral part of American history, and that it is important to educate ourselves and future generations about the important contributions of African Americans to our society. In Groton, we strive to use this month to celebrate and uplift the legacy of those who have paved the way and work towards creating a more inclusive and equitable future. With that, I'd like to bring up our state representative of the 40th District, Chris Conley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Bordelon, many of the councilors who are here, many of our town officials, and Park and Rec and DEI for setting this great event up. Black history is American history, Black history is Connecticut history, and Black history is Groton's history. We are a very young country, and we still have so many struggles to go through for equality. One quick story I'd like to share is my family's story. And you might look at me and say, why are you saying this? I'm raising the flag for Black History Day. But my father went to a school in a different town in Connecticut than Groton. And when he was in school, which is before Brown versus Board of Education, he was in a segregated classroom. Now, his parents didn't know that. They just dropped him off at the local elementary school and thought, because they were in a progressive state like Connecticut, that of course we didn't have segregation in classrooms here. And about 2 weeks into his first year of school, he had forgotten something. His mother came to drop it off, probably lunch, I'm guessing, knowing him. His mother came to drop off his lunch and walked into his classroom and saw what she thought only occurred in the South, a segregated classroom in an elementary school in Connecticut. She did what I'm glad, and what I hope most people would do, is that was the last day he attended public school in that town. She pulled him right out and said, my child will not be raised in a community where Black people and white people are not allowed to sit next to each other. What that meant for him is that he went to a private school in that same town because of privilege, and he was able to go to that private school. But what that meant for all the other students, when you look back in that classroom, is they were raised in that segregated classroom. Those folks are the same age of many folks in this audience. They're, what I refer to my father, they're in their 60s and 70s. They lived through segregation. And when you think how little time has passed and how much we have overcome today, we can be proud of what we've overcome as a nation, as a state, and as a town. But we think also how much further we have to go. So I'll remind everyone what's coming up on Saturday is a birthday that I share with Miss Rosa Parks. Now, Rosa Parks' birthday, also Saturday, February 4th. She's the most famous person I've shared a birthday with. She sat down so we could stand up. Let's remember, we've got a lot of more standing up to do. There's a lot more things each and every one of us can do, from very small things, like pulling your kid out and saying it's not acceptable, to seeing someone who's being bullied, to seeing something that's not okay on social media, in real life, and saying that's not okay. So let's do what Rosa Parks did. Let's stand up. Let's stand up for everyone and move our country forward for equality. And I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
Thank you, Representative Conley. I did also receive something for Senator Summers, sending her regards. She's up working on a bill, and I know that Councilor Baumgardner and State Rep Baumgardner should be here soon. I'd like to introduce Grace Carlos up next. Grace Carlos is a resident of Montville, Connecticut. Grace serves as a National Committee Women of Black Caucus Chair for the Young Democrats of Connecticut. And in 2021, she became the founding member of the Young Democrats of New London County, where she serves as a chapter vice president. Grace is currently finishing her bachelor's degree in political science with a pre-law and a minor at Eastern Connecticut State University. Grace Carlos, thank you for your help today.
Hi, Hi, everyone. As you know, my name is Grace Carlos, and I am so excited to be here. Although I live in Montville, before that, I did live here in the town of Groton, so it's exciting to be back, especially for something like this. I just want to take a moment to thank Councilor Bordelon and the mayor for allowing me to be a part of this awesome event. Where I'm from, we don't have a lot of things acknowledging the differences of people that make us all unique and bring us together. So it is an honor and a privilege to be here to celebrate Black History Month and start it out strong. And as we just heard from Representative Conley, Black history is American history. So throughout this month and every month, just embrace it, celebrate it, and just be proud of your uniqueness and that you bring something different and special to this country, to this state, and to this town. And I just hope after this event, we can all continue to spread the message and celebrate Black history and let everybody know how important it is and how awesome it is that we have the history and the people who went before us to allow us to come here and do things like this. Thank you so much.
At this time, we'd like to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Giselle E. Turqui, Director of Health and Wellness at Mitchell College and a licensed practicing psychologist.
And I'll just read a quick bio for Dr. Turqui. Dr. Giselle Turqui is a licensed psychotherapist in Connecticut and co-owns a private practice, Magnolia Wellness LLC, with her daughter, Janelle D. Posey Green, LCSW. She completed her PhD in counseling psychology from Walden University in May 2021, and she received an MS in general psychology from Walden University in 2007, an MS in special education from Southern Connecticut State University in 1997, and a BA in psychology from Southern University of New Orleans. Currently, she is Director of Health and Wellness at Mitchell College in New London, where she was an adjunct professor of psychology for 2 years. While working with Care Plus Naughtrog Hospital, she developed a curriculum for a professional intensive outpatient dual diagnosis program. A strong advocate for emotional disabled students, neurodiverse and modality-based ability students, and dual diagnosis individuals, she is a member of the American Psychological Association, Positive Parenting of Connecticut, and the North American Society for Adlerian Psychology. A certified dialectal behavioral specialist therapist, and a board-certified grief counselor, as well as a SMART recovery therapist. She ascribes to the tenets of having goal-directed behavior and purpose and believes in an individual's ability to strive for success and overcome misdirected goals. Areas of professional interest are brain-based learning, mindful meditation, and positive psychology. Her current projects include supporting the Black and Indigenous people of color group to address the historic trauma and social changes in their communities. She's an honored member of Psi Chi, the International Honor Society in Psychology, since 2007. Please welcome Dr. Giselle E. Turqui.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Can you hear me? Okay, all right, great. I am so honored to be here. I want to thank Kevin Booker for introducing me to Portia and giving me the opportunity to be here and talk about passion, my passion about being a Black woman, a Southern Black woman, because I don't know if you guys caught that my BA is from Southern in New Orleans, so I'm a New Orleans girl. And you know we like to party. You know what time of year it is right now. It's Mardi Gras, so you know, I got that spirit right now. But what I want to bring forward to you guys is this. I'm going to say this refrain, and I want you to repeat it. Representation matters. You tell me. Representation matters. And I say this because growing up in New Orleans, of course, I went to a Catholic school, but my Catholic school was run by nuns, the first Black order of nuns in the country. So at an early age, I was surrounded by beautiful, Black, intelligent women that set a model for me. moving forward, going to college to Southern University in New Orleans, again, I run into beautiful, Black, intelligent women and men now that I'm seeing who are in professional roles that I can see and want to emulate, want to model, and want to do what they're doing. So representation matters. It matters for these young people here. It matters for my granddaughter that's standing right there. It mattered for her mother when we moved here in 1993, and I realized we were truly a minority here. There were not many folks with melanin in their skin when we moved to Montville. So I had to make it a point to make sure that my kids were surrounded by folks that look like them. And I'm going to ask you, look around the crowd. See if you see people that look like you, because representation does matter. Seeing professional people matters. It does matter. And, you know, it's funny because, wow, look how far we've come. We are now at a Super Bowl that has 2 Black quarterbacks for the first time ever. And I say this because I remember in 1988 when Doug Williams was the first Black quarterback to go to the Super Bowl. And I only imagine for those 2 young men who are now in the Super Bowl, they had him as a model to say, I can do that. I can get there. We can get there. It's no longer that Black quarterbacks cannot be looked at as running a team, being the captain of that team. So representation matters. It definitely matters. I currently, as you may have heard, I am Director of Health and Wellness at Mitchell College. And the beautiful thing about Mitchell College is we have 3 dynamic, other than myself, 2 other dynamic women of color. Dr. Martinez, Alicia Martinez, who is the Dean of Student Activities and Affairs. She runs that. And we have a Black female president, first Black female president of Mitchell, Dr. Espy. We get to model on that campus for our students. 2 of our students are here. Emma and Mamdar, could you come up for a second, please? Because I want to prove a point. I've heard a couple times, Black history is American history. Black history is every day. Let's not get that twisted. Black history is every day, not just the shortest month of the year. So make sure we keep that in mind, everyone. But when we talk about representation matters, it's not just for Manjara, my cousin, by the way, who attends Mitchell, and Emma, her best friend, who's here, who as you can see, is not Black. However, it matters, because not only does it matter for this girl to see people who look like her, but this beautiful young woman here needs to see Black professionals in professional roles so that she knows, yeah, there are Black folks can be professionals. They're not just doing the other things historically that we were kind of pigeon-held to do. But it's important for her to see that as well, that we are out here. We are professionals, men and women both, and we are doing what we need to do to push forward and to stand on the shoulders of those who have come before us. So very, very important for that. Mitchell College, Dr. Martinez brought forward to us this year the beloved community. And if anyone's familiar with that, that was actually brought forward through Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. One of his speeches, he talked about the beloved community and what that means. Coming together, accepting everyone, being there and being a supportive community to do that. And that is what we are doing at Mitchell College. That representation that matters, seeing Dr. Espy, Hispanic director, Dr. Martinez, myself, Dr. Turqui, in these roles, all of those students get to see us and understand that they can achieve as well and be in these positions as well. And along with that, I want to say we have Kevin Booker, who's there's working on his PhD for our male students, because I can't leave out our Black males. We cannot do that. Our Black males are seeing this dynamic professor. We have Dr. Durval Prince, who is the director of IT. at Mitchell College, and he's been there for at least 6 years, I think. So there's that representation for our Black males as well. It is important. Representation matters. And if nothing else, guys, I need you to just keep in mind when you look outside of yourself that you see other people who may not look like you, but that all of us make up a beloved community. And it is very important that we adopt that philosophy, and not only adopt it, but understand it. Because you can say, oh yeah, rhetorically, oh yeah, I get it. But it's not watch what they say, it's watch what they do. So make sure you're doing and not just saying, okay? But what I want to do, I want to leave you guys with a quote from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, because I know it's cold. Our goal is to create a beloved community, and this will require a qualitative change in our souls, as well as a quantitative change in our lives. Thank you.
Let's give her another hand. Thank you so much. At this time, we're going to bring up someone to read a poem. It's going to be, I don't have her, Manjara Abdurrahman. I apologize.
Mumjada Abdurrahman is from Oakland, California, and is a published poet. She's an autistic activist for women of color to be recognized not only for their challenges, but accomplishments, therefore giving them the human experience. She's currently a junior at Mitchell College, majoring in psychology and minoring in criminal justice, supporting these efforts. She had long history working with youth spirit artwork since 2013, dealing with low income and housing for youth in the Bay Area. Please welcome Mumjada Abdurrahman.
Hello, everyone. It's such an honor to be here. I just like to honor my ancestors and also my cousin for suggesting me. I am out to seek reparations for the ones before me, the ones that couldn't speak, breathe, walk, or think. I am out to create healthy homes where my kids flourish in health. I'll be the one when I die in eternal happiness. Not a cure nor a fairy tale, but an ending but a light to lead to freedom. I come from a line of greatness, defending myself. Oh, sorry, my bad, guys, hold on. I come from a line of greatness. That is my line to defend myself from unsaid bias and oppressions of white supremacy. It's like my ticket to freedom. While holding my breath below a river surface so that the dogs don't catch me, what I say amounts to half of the ticket, but my actions complete the ticket. Every time I do something that I'm not supposed to do, he rips off the bottom. Okay. He rips off. Okay, I'm going to redo that line. He rips off the bottom. Wait. Okay. Every time I do something that I'm not supposed to do, he rips off a bit of the bottom of my freedom from my children and the ones before me. Dear little black girl, go get it. Go get the life of freedom. It's not a dream, it's a right. Your blood oath right. You may ask, as a human, I say, you don't have to be strong. You're allowed to feel. You're allowed to go off in white spaces. You're allowed to wear your natural locks or cover your crown. You're allowed to dress brightly. You're allowed to breathe. You're allowed to pick healthy patterns without any explanation. You're allowed to do what God made you to do and not what man wants you to do. This poem is called Universal Language. There's a certain grace that falls in between my brain and the notes coming from the unsaid love that is in the orchestra. The notes are like a message from the composer's soul of God. God is in your heart. And when you're moved by a song with no vocals, it's a different kind of feeling. They're like hugs from an ancestor that came before you, or a message from God about how pure the world can be. The same feeling of love that I get from music, I get everywhere. Black woman, your skin glows, your hair flows. Black woman, your mind is right. There's no need to fright. Black women, you're lovable for every emotion. Black women don't beat around and find out. They seek out. Black woman, you're worth more than what you can offer or what history you can find. I refuse not to love myself. So this poem is called I Refuse Not to Love Myself. I refuse not to forgive myself. I refuse to accept the problems because I love you. I refuse to keep my mouth shut. I refuse to add fire to fire. I refuse to acknowledge my average rack problems, but not let myself imagine myself as glamorous as my name meaning. I refuse not to pass and go and I refuse not to pass go, but let my inner child live there. I refuse not to jump on an opportunity if it hits me in the soul. I refuse to accept the bare minimum. I refuse not to chase my future self, but also keep her in the moment. I refuse not to cry, laugh, and smile. I refuse not to slip back into the old me. I refuse not to speak up and say I love you, but I must let you go. I refuse not to acknowledge my intuition or the ancestors' whispers. Be you, be me, be we, let me, Mumjada. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. At this time, we're going to bring Ayana Melvin up. She's part of Sea Research Foundation and Mystic Aquarium Senior Director of Strategic Planning. And my friend.
Okay. You go. You're ready.
Ayana Melvin is the Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships for Missions Program at the Sea Research Foundation Mystic Aquarium, where she is responsible for cultivating strategic partnerships that will substantially grow missions program reach, revenue, and impact with a strong focus on environmental justice and racial equity. Ayana has worked in the field of youth development and education for over 20 years in several capacities, including most recently heading up the youth development work at United Way and leading the Rhode Island After School Network with a heavy focus on environmental justice with a racial equity lens. Please welcome Ayana Melvin.
All right. Thank you very much. What a nice welcome to Groton. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me for a couple minutes. Thank you, Portia, for inviting me. I really appreciate it. First, I want to tell a really brief story about what Dr. Turcotte said about representation and why it matters. When I was younger, I wanted to be a marine biologist, but a white guidance counselor, male, told me that it wasn't a job for me. Now look at me, I work at Mystic Aquarium. Not a marine biologist. But why I say this is because Mae Jemison, the first Black American engineer, went up in space with NASA, and she met my students that participated in some programming that Mystic helped fund and run in Cranston, Rhode Island. And when my students got to meet her, they're like, hey, we look like you, and you've been to space. And she was a short, Black woman. She was great. And she said, I never thought I was going to go to space. But the work that she was doing in engineering required her to go into a atmosphere where there was no gravity, space. When the kids heard that, they felt like, hey, this could be a potential opportunity for me. So that's why it is really important that we take those words that we heard earlier about representation and hold them dear and near to our heart, because that is what Black history is about. It's about highlighting the people that are, a lot of them, the first, right? The first Black man, the first Black woman, the first person of color. It's about highlighting their achievements so that we can continue to grow those spaces for people that look like me. I am very proud and honored to work at Mystic Aquarium, where we have made a commitment to work on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, moving us into an anti-racist organization as we work internally, and hopefully you'll start to feel that impact externally in the next year to 2 years. It is really critical and important for us to be in this space, because when I first got there, I love seeing people that look like me in power positions, some of them that are here today. It's important that in this community of Groton and the surrounding communities that we keep making sure that representation that matters about providing different perspectives at a table or a decision-making table are heard, that those spaces are provided, they're safe, and that they're there for future generations like my 2 children and like Portia's children. So very important for us. I want to point out my colleagues that are here with me that do the good fight and the good work at Mystic Aquarium. Not all of them are here today, but if they want to come on up and say hi, I have Rodney Daniels. He's vice president. Don't wave at me. You can come up here. I have Rodney Daniels, vice president. Come on, Nikki. I have Vice President of Guest Services. I have Lydia Shell, Director of Philanthropy, and I have Nikki Sakosha, who's a program specialist and who's been helping me with an equity audit within our organization. This is why representation is important and it matters. We are doing this work together collectively because that's the only way to do it. It takes a village. So look around, because this is your village. We all live in Connecticut, and we're all going to make a difference and make sure that Black history is celebrated beyond just a month, and that we make sure that at every table it's diverse so that we can bring the skills, the perspectives, and really create an America that is inclusive and equitable for all.
Let's give her a big hand. Thank you so much for everything. At this time, moving on in the agenda, it was going to be originally State Rep and Councilor Andre Baumgartner, but he's en route from Hartford, so he should be here in the next 10 minutes. So I'm going to call up see if Councilor Parker, if she's interested in reading the proclamation. If not, I can find somebody else if they would like to read it, maybe a youth. Oh, actually, you know what? I just skipped over my own agenda, which I never do. If you know me, I love to get every piece of it. So I forgot to introduce, we're going to now introduce Mr. John Nazaro, a speaker from the NAACP, which Parker, Juliet, Counselor also will be coming up at that time. Sorry. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My name is John Nazaro, and it's a privilege to be here. I want to thank everyone for the opportunity. I'm with the New London NAACP, and importantly, I hope you can hear me. Let me say I grew up here, and I'm a person of color. That doesn't mean I'm a Black person. I'm an Asian individual. I was the first male Asian judge appointed in the state of Connecticut, and so I was a bit of a trailblazer. Thank you so much. But I wanted to tell some of the young people here, I grew up here. I grew up in the gym over at the sub base. And I want to thank the folks from the Navy. My father was in the dive tower in 1944, and he served on a diesel boat, the Gabalon. I want to thank them for their service. They're all 4-0 sailors by virtue of the fact that they've stood here in the cold for this ceremony. And I want to thank my son, who got a billet to special warfare in Coronado in 2009. And my father and brother who make the submarines. I'm going to tell you candidly, I'm not a political candidate and I'm not running for office. I want to tell the young people, you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. I'm half Japanese and half Italian American. Don't hold it against me that I'm Italian. The truth is, we moved up here from Monroe Township, New Jersey, where I went to an all-Black school. I was a minority, one of the few non-Blacks. And I had a teacher, Mrs. McClintock. She was also Black, and she inspired me. And so when my dad worked at EB, and at one point I wanted to be a news reporter, I started doing that. I got a face for radio. And then I was poor, and I decided I'm done with this. And I decided to go to law school. And my brother said to me, Johnny, you might as well have said you wanted to be an astronaut. And I went to law school. after college at Southern Connecticut. I spent Saturdays at the sub-base pool, Dealey Center, watching movies for 35 cents, working out at the gym with Iraqi submariners, black, white. My dad's best friend, he would later join the Army, 18 in the Army. He was a black sergeant. And my best friend was half black and half Japanese. I want to tell you that the plight of the colored person is not the same as the plight of the African American. We are here today for Black History Month. And right here, right next door, some of you may not realize, there was a young man named Venture Smith who purchased 26 acres. Venture Smith was a slave. He was purchased for the sum of 4 gallons of rum and calico cloth. He came over from Guinea in the 1730s at the age of 6.5. He was robbed from his family, robbed from his legacy, and sold on a ship and came over with 12 million others. 12 million African Americans sold into bondage at Newport, Rhode Island. And then he traveled over to Fisher's Island, and today's a bit of a history lesson because that's what this month's about. And he was purchased by a man, Robinson Stanton. You've heard that name, the Stanton Farm. If you go to Fort Griswold, you will see the names of Stanton, Wheeler, Allen, Gear, Hurlbut, Carter. They walk among us. And while he was in bondage, he was abused like all of those 12 million Americans who were separated from their families. He was fortunate to meet Margaret, whom he married. And finally, he was sold again, only this time to a farmer named Oliver Smith. And he changed his name. He was Botier. That was his birth name. But his slave master called him Venture because he was named after a business venture by Mr. Stanton. So he went to Mr. Smith's farm, and he worked that farm, and he was abused again. And this was the plight of the African-American slave. 4 gallons of rum and calico cloth. But when he met Mr. Smith, he had a heart. And Mr. Smith said to him, "You can buy your freedom." And so he worked, and he was a carpenter, and he fished, and he made things, and he was smart. And somewhere along the way, he learned to read and write. And he wrote one of only 12 known manuscripts. It was an autobiography. He did not publish it until 1798, when he was about 70 years old, and it was published in New London in a newspaper called The Bee. And you can see copies of that Bee at the Shaw Mansion, the New London Historical Society. He died at the age of 75, but not before he was able to purchase the freedom of his own children, Hannah and Solomon. His son Solomon went off to sea as a whaler, and he never saw him again. It's a great story. It's a story of triumph. In 1775, he bought a farm in East Haddam, some 135 acres. 1775. I want you to think about that for a moment. The courthouse in New London was built in 1784. Slavery is a part of our culture. The inhumanity of man against man, man treating humans as property. It was an ugly time in our history, but it is our history nonetheless. And it's the Black history, okay? Do not confuse it with something else. All of you need to remember that as we go forward, and the struggle and the challenge continues. And so we have to keep the history alive, as one of the speakers said, and remember where we come from, where we're at, and where we're going. I'll leave you with this. In about 2015, I met the Reverend Bernard Lafayette. I was at a symposium on Justice Thurgood Marshall. And I said, "Reverend, when I get out, I'm going to be working with the NAACP. I spent 23 years as a lawyer, short time as a prosecuting attorney. I was a presiding chief habeas corpus judge in Rockville, Connecticut. It's been 43 years I've been in this business. I'm older than I look. I flatter myself. Reverend Lafayette was arrested 28 times, twice in confinement. He marched with Reverend King and John Lewis and Selma. He was beaten but he got back up again. And he's now professor emeritus at the University of Maryland. And he said to me, Judge, you do that because I wanted to work with young men, nothing against the women. And I had a great discussion with my friend, Reverend Joseph Coleman, earlier. The young men, 6th, 7th grade, you got to do the right thing, okay? You want to make your people proud, whether you're black, white, Asian, brown, doesn't matter. Men and women, you got to do the right thing. So on this Black History Month, on behalf of the NAACP, I'm going to defer to Juliet Parker, one of our officers, who's going to make a few remarks. Thank you so much.
All right. Good afternoon. Little short here. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Good afternoon. We at the NAACP have memberships, and anyone under the age of 21 can join for free because we have a youth group involved. Adults have to pay a price, but we're out in the community. We cover New London, most of New London County, and we do have applications in the back. We will be holding a prayer breakfast in New London at the Ocean Beach at the Port and Starboard on February 25th, 2023. We do have an Instagram page and a Facebook page, so check us out. Thank you.
And again, I'll go back to where I was supposed to be on the agenda. Again, Councilor and State Rep Baumgartner sends his regards. He's en route. You may catch him at the end, but I'm going to have Councilor Parker read the proclamation.
Proclamation recognizing Black History Month, February 2023. Whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development. And whereas Black History Month grew out of the formation of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, in 1909, and by the establishment of the Negro History Week founded by Carter G. Woodson, and the first observation by Black educators and students at Kent State University in 1969. And whereas President Biden said it was essential that we take time to celebrate the immeasurable contributions of Black Americans, honor the legacies and achievements of generations past, reckon with centuries of injustice and confront those injustices that still fester today. And whereas Black History Month fosters cultural awareness and understanding while encouraging education about the contribution made by by Americans of color. And whereas the town of Groton is proud to honor the history and contributions that Black and Brown Americans have given to our community, now therefore be it resolved, in recognition of the efforts grown from people of color in our community, past and present, the Groton Town Council does hereby proclaim February 2023 to be Black History Month, and encourages all citizens to celebrate our diverse heritage and continue the efforts to create a world that is more just, peaceful, and prosperous for all. Dated at Groton, Connecticut, this first day of February 2023, signed by Mayor Melendez, the town of Groton.
Thank you, Councilor Parker. At this time, we're going to have our military assist us in raising the flag, if they could take their stands. I call.
Attention. Left, right. Ho.
At this time, I'm going to call forward Kia Beard. She'll be singing Lift Every Voice and Sing by James Weldon Johnson. If you want to go ahead.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the hope that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the faith that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our Father sighed. We have come over a way that with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out of the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our wearies, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray, lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadow beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land. Thank you.
Let's give her another hand. Thank you so. That was absolutely beautiful. At this time, I'm going to enter up. Councilor Baumgartner is here. State Rep, I'm going to give him the floor for a minute, and then we're going to close.
Good evening, everyone. Or afternoon, I should say. Andre Baumgartner, your state representative, and it's so great to be with you all for now the second annual Black History Month celebration. Just want to give, obviously, a shout out to our amazing staff and volunteers that have helped put this together, not just this year, but last year. In particular, our amazing Parks and Recreation Department. Thank you so much for your help, and obviously your organization, and my sister in service, Councilor Portia Bordelon. It was a little more frigid last year, but it's so great to hear and see so many familiar faces, and obviously highlighting the importance of this month and the contributions our Black and Brown brothers and sisters have made, not just to our community, but throughout our state and country. So with that, I just came from Hartford. There were a few issues with the first citation we had, and I couldn't come without them getting corrected before I got here. So I apologize for being a bit late. But with that, I'd like to call up Councilor Bordelon as well as Director Barry. So, I have a citation from the state of Connecticut, from the Connecticut General Assembly, introduced by myself, Representative Andrew Baumgartner of the 41st District, Representative Chris Conley of the 40th District, my Groton counterpart, and Representative Anthony Nolan, 39th District, Representative Darrell Wilson, 46th District, who joined me on the Black and Puerto Rican caucus and also represent Southeastern Connecticut, and our Senate counterpart, Senator Heather Summers of the 18th District. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Portia Bordelon and the Town of Groton Parks and Recreation Department, in recognition of their efforts to organize and host the second annual Black History Month commemoration event in the town of Groton. On behalf of a grateful community, we extend our deepest gratitude on this memorable occasion. Many thanks and best wishes for continued success in hosting this valuable event in our community, now an annual event. You stand as a model for others to emulate. Congratulations. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success. Given this first day of February 2023 at the state capitol, Hartford, Connecticut, by Martin M. Looney, President Pro Tem of the Senate, Matt Ritter, Speaker of the House. That's why everyone was gesturing to me. And Matt Ritter, Speaker of the House, and our new Secretary of the State, Stephanie Thomas. Congratulations, and thank you so much for putting this together again this year.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay, this brings us to our closing. Again, I want to thank everyone involved, Groton Parks and Rec, Mark Berry, Jessica for her help with Groton Parks and Rec, the town manager, the mayor, Juliet Parker, the NAACP, all of our speakers, our singers, our keynotes, the students, and as well as everyone in our community. This really truly means a lot to me as a person who grew up in Mystic. And never thought I would ever see anything like this. I knew it had to happen this year. I heard from students in the community when they walked up to me and they said, Mrs. Bordelon, I've never seen Black History Month flags throughout our town. I am proud to say that we will have 6 flags, one in Old Mystic, one at our police department, a banner at our Pequannock Bridge Park right across from PQ, as well as here, the Human Service Building and the Senior Center and library. If that is not representation, I don't know what is. From the furthest corner of Stonington and Ledyard to right up here in the town line of Groton. We recognize you, we see you, and I am so proud to stand here and represent and help our community grow together. Thank you. Let's close with singing Amazing Grace, and I wish you all the best, and please remember, Black History Month should be every day history of our culture and our community. And I'm so proud, and I look forward to the progress that we can make as we move ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, Amazing Grace is on the back of your program, and we'll sing the first and the fourth verses. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. Verse 4, when we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, and I look forward to the 3rd annual